All right, our next question comes from Tom in Little Elm. He writes, Dear Lorie, my partner Eric and I are married and we're living in New York until last month when his job transferred him to Dallas. I wanted to know what are the legal options to protect couples who live in a state that does not recognize the marriage laws from another state. Tom in Little Elm. Great question, Tom. As you may or may not be aware, this is an area of law that I focus a great deal on, and that is the legal rights that affect the gay and lesbian community. Now, one thing for you to know is, as it stands right now, Texas has a constitutional amendment that does not recognize any marriages or relationships between people of the same sex from other states. So, while it's important for everybody and every couple to have important estate planning put in place, it is all the more important for couples like you and Eric to make sure that you have the right legal planning in place. Now, one of the things is for you to know is that Texas is basically going to treat you as two strangers in the eyes of the law. Even if you jointly own property, jointly have accounts, that does not mean it'll go to one another. So we need to talk about what things can be put in place. And the interesting thing is that it's not necessarily that the planning is all that different for you. It's just the ramifications that are. There is not currently any laws that would allow a judge to make distributions to a same-sex partner, appoint them as executor or guardian over them if they become incapacitated, to make medical decisions, all of that. So all of those things are just all the more critical, and to make sure that you're working with someone who understands the laws and ramifications. Now, because the law is rapidly changing throughout the country, and there certainly have been some recent developments, it is important for you to go ahead and address that marriage. We live in a community property state, and if at such time Texas does recognize your marriage, then you have been creating community property, and there are many ramifications for doing that. So it's important to make sure that you seek a professional that really understands the law, is up to date, and knows how to best advise you. One thing that couples in your situation may want to consider is what's called cohabitation agreements. Now, I don't want to get into all the nuts and bolts of that now, but what that basically would do is set out some responsibilities that you have to one another, and can even talk about what should happen if the relationship did dissolve, because you cannot currently get divorced in Texas under our laws. Now, that is also in a state of change, and there have been some movements in that way, but basically there are severe restrictions when it comes to that. Another thing to keep in mind is there is some special language that some attorneys such as myself like to factor in, such as hospital visitation. Now, I don't know too many medical facilities that would deny a husband the right to visit his wife, even with a medical power of attorney, but there are those situations that we hear of that even with a medical power of attorney, a partner may not be able to have just basic visitation rights. So that's one example of some of the special language that you might want to make sure that your advisor or your attorney is putting in there. Another thing is that there are other pieces of planning that not all attorneys cover, but certainly would need to be addressed for you. And one specifically is someone to designate who can, or for you to designate who can oversee funeral and burial arrangements. I bring this one up because I've had two instances recently with same-sex couples where this has come up. One was a situation that many people fear, where a partner was about to pass away and his parents were coming in saying that they were going to take their boy back to Mississippi and bury him in the family plot. And because my client had this document put in place, he was able to prevent that from happening and was able to make decisions for his partner once he did pass. The other situation is, I think, a lot more telling of where we are in the law when it comes to the gay community. And that was a situation where my client's partner passed away, and he was sitting across from a funeral director, and the funeral director looked at him and said, I don't know what to do with you. You're not a spouse, you're not family, there's no one here fighting with you. I want to follow your wishes, but I don't know if I can. And because he contacted me and I reminded him that we had prepared this document that gave him that authority, he was able to show that to them, and they said, great, this is all we need. And he was able to carry out those final wishes for the person that he loved most in this world. And I really see this trend a lot more, where judges, hospitals, banks, funeral directors, they want to honor the relationship, but the laws are so confusing that they don't know what they can and can't do. So very important, Tom and Eric, for you to get this planning put in place and to get it done by a professional that knows what they're talking about. So that's our question for today. If you have any further questions that you'd like to submit, please visit us on Facebook. If you want to submit questions or to see other episodes of Hot Topics, you can visit our YouTube page or even subscribe. And don't forget, our website allows you to sign up for newsletters. Until next time, remember, if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you.